Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the RookieMode podcast. I'm Michael with my co-host, who's not here again because he has a lot of stuff to do. So I'm doing another solo podcast. It seems like every other week or every other episode, it just seems I'm doing this by myself. But Rachel's here right beside me because we got the Predators game on right now. We're up 1-0. There's 5.5 minutes left. We are recording this on Sunday, March 28th for reference. And there's a fight going on. Okay. Yeah, keep fighting. Go. I thought we got scored on for a second, but we are up 1-0. So, and if we win this game, then we are officially in a playoff spot, which is pretty awesome. As long as we win it in regulation, I should say. It doesn't go into overtime and the score stays the same, or we just keep scoring, then we will be in a playoff spot, which is very awesome. Nice save by Pekka right there. So, knock on wood. Make sure we win. But just going to get into it again. Going to talk a little bit about what I think the Titans should do for the draft, about how the Predators have been playing the past couple weeks. And, we're just going to get right into it. So with the draft in less than a month now, free agency is on the decline, at least with the volume of signings that's going to happen. Figured I'm going to talk about a little bit of draft strategy that I think that the Titans should go for. They're going to go realistically, and then what the best case scenario, in my opinion, is going to happen with the draft. In saying that, we don't know what all we're going to do for the rest of free agency. I think we have a little bit of money to spend. I'm not completely sure. They haven't really come out and said the official numbers that we have left on the cap space, and that goes for every team. It's kind of up in the air right now with what all is left, but I think that we should sign one more free agent, and I think that should be Ryan Kerrigan, specifically for just a little bit more pass rush help, because we can never get enough, even if we draft a lot of guys, because I think that Ryan Kerrigan, he's a veteran. He's pretty old, but he can still play. He's got a high motor, and I think he'd be a good complement on the defensive line, outside linebacker position, specifically just for depth at this point, because obviously you can't have Harold Landry or Danico Autry or Bud Dupree out there for literally every single snap of every single game. It's just not possible. So he can come in for a couple snaps. They can get their watering Gatorade. He'll come back out. He might get 3-4 sacks on the year, but at this point, literally just anybody else that can help us get sacks, regardless of if he's a depth player, just to relieve some tension off the other guys, then I'll take him. Plus, me and the boys all love Ryan Kerrigan for whatever reason. We don't know why it happened, but he's probably Luke's favorite player, so at least it's not on the Titans. Oh, the Chicago's on a power play. I don't know why. That's kind of stupid, but oh well. We're on the penalty kill, so if I react very sadly or angrily in the next couple minutes, it's because Chicago just scored on the power play. That goes for the rest of the game, or as long as I keep recording. If I just randomly just like sigh or do anything of the sort, then something good and or bad happened in the game. But going back to the Titans, I think for the draft strategy, our needs haven't changed. I still would very much like for us to draft someone like Azeez Ojulari if he drops that far. But I think if we don't get one of the pass rushers that we just really want, then we should definitely look at the cornerbacks in the top part of our draft, or at least with our first overall pick. Specifically, the three corners that I would really love to have if one of them somehow drops to us, is Patrick Surtain the second, Asante Samuel Jr., or J.C. Horn. Now, the chances of any of those guys dropping to 22, it's kind of low. If any of them, the chances of any of those guys dropping to 22, pretty low. But depending on obviously what everybody else does, or if we want to trade up just a little bit, maybe move up like 3 or 4 picks, give up a 3rd round pick along with it to get one of those guys, then I would not be very upset about it. And Patrick Surtain, obviously the son of NFL legend Patrick Surtain, and then Asante Samuel Jr., the son of Asante Samuel. So they have the pedigree. Oh, we killed the penalty. Good job, guys. Obviously, they have the pedigree, and they're graded as first round talents for a reason. J.C. Horn is the one that I've specifically. Oh, good save, Pekka. Love that, man. Yeah, they're all first round talents for a reason. I think last mock draft I saw they had Patrick Surtain going to the Broncos. So he's a top 10 pick. So if he can fall and or we trade up for him, then I think that's the biggest position of need that we need to address at this point, because we have Janoris Jenkins, who's a 32-year-old man at this point. He's the only real cornerback that we have, considering we let go of Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson, who Adoree Jackson signed almost a $40 million contract with the Giants, which I saw those numbers and I thought, what in the world are they giving him? Because it's like 3 years, $39 million, $29 million guaranteed. But his cap hit for this season is only like $5.5 million, whereas it would have been like 10.2 with us. So, I mean, yeah, they gave him way more money than we ever would have given his past performance, especially this year with the injury history. But I mean, he passed his physical with the Giants, so I guess he's good. I mean, I'll root for him to do well no matter where he goes, no matter where he ends up. But it's just, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to think about, considering just how weird this past year was with him. He played 3 total games, I think. Yeah. He didn't come back to like week 13. They never put him on injury reserve either, which is the weird thing. I don't know. Obviously, the injury was way worse than we were ever led on to believe that it was, because he never played, and the secondary was obviously very bad because of it. And then, I mean, the secondary somehow got even worse because we let go of Malcolm Butler too, who signed with the Cardinals on a 1-year, like $7 million deal. So, I mean, Arizona just continues to be the retirement home for NFL players at this point. They signed J.J. Watt and Malcolm Butler, but should be a pretty good team. I'm obviously going to root for any former Titan who basically isn't named Isaiah Wilson at this point.
This podcast has basically become the Isaiah Wilson hate club.
It's because something new happens every single week with it. Oh, Predators just scored. Let's go. Screw you, Subban. Who scored? Did you see?
I just saw him go in.
Okay, perfect. It looks like Ekholm did. Oh, perfect. Let's go, Ekholm. If it's not, oh yeah, here's the replay. Oh, Ekholm had it deflected off of a Yarncroak skate. Yeah, okay, awesome. Well, that was nice. Yeah, a nice little spin move from Ekholm, and it just bounced right off of Yarncroak skate right into the net. All right, perfect. Preds up 2-0, a minute and a half to go left in the first period. So there you go. What was I talking about? Isaiah Wilson, yeah. Ugh. But I mean, like, something new happens every single week. Did you see, like, the whole Georgia thing? So the thing that happened this week with him, he apparently back in January, right before the Ravens game, he got arrested for, I think it might have been a DUI, but I know he was going like 140 in a car with some woman, and they found a bunch of drugs with him, specifically weed and acid. But yeah, he got arrested back in January for that. So obviously, I don't know if obviously the Titans had to have known about it. There's no way the Dolphins knew about that if we traded for him. But I mean, obviously he got released from the Dolphins super quickly. But it's just another chapter in the Isaiah Wilson saga of just completely throwing his life away, or at least his NFL chances away. Because usually rookies never do this type of stuff. Usually they at least attempt to try and be good and like get some money before they completely piss away their NFL careers. But this dude straight up just signed his contract and said, all right, I'm good. And like with him being traded and then cut from the Dolphins after 3 days, I have no idea what that does for his cap hit for us or the Dolphins. So I know us having suspended him for 1 game back when the season was happening, that may have giving us a bit of levity from his cap hit for this year. But at this point, there's just so much stuff that's happened with him that I have no idea what it means for us going forward cap wise, other than he's just not in the NFL anymore, and there's just no chance in hell that he's ever going to get picked up by another NFL team, because he, like I've said before, he played literally 4 snaps. One of them was on special teams. The other 3 were in victory formation. It's not like there's any tape on him. It's not like any other NFL teams got the chance to play against him. So it's just like, I feel for him in a certain light, because obviously there's something wrong with the dude. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any sort of psychologist or anything, but there's something wrong with him, and we have to admit that, and someone has to help him. But at the same breath, that can only happen if he helps himself first. We almost got scored on, but end of the first 2-0. Ooh, a little bit of a scrum happening. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, screw you, Blackhawks. You suck. But yeah, back to the Isaiah Wilson stuff. The first step in overcoming a problem is admitting that you have one. And we all around, everybody around him can see, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that were inside the Titans organization when he was with us, and I hope and pray that there are people in his life that are telling him too, but it's like there's something wrong with him. And we just have to come together as just good human beings, at least the people around him do, and just try to help him fix it. Or else that he's literally just going to piss away his life in a few years. We're just going to find out that he ended up dead somewhere. And I mean, obviously I hope and pray that does not happen to him. I don't want that to happen to anybody, but it's just the sad reality of what he's going through right now, because obviously there's something happening, and all we can hope for is that it gets fixed somehow. So, draft expectations. I did a mock draft. I used a Pro Football Network's website and basically just did a simulation of the draft. I remember the first pick that I had was when we got to the Titans. It was a Kwity Paye out of Florida, I believe that was where he plays football. He's an edge defender or an edge rusher. I know it's like Azeez Ojulari and all of those 3 cornerbacks that I named earlier were already gone, which is unfortunate. But no, Kwity Paye plays for the Michigan Wolverines. That's my bad. I don't know why I was thinking Florida, but he's a defensive tackle. Pro Football Network had him as an edge rusher. He's a defensive lineman. He's pretty good, so that's why I picked him. But I know him, and then the second pick I had, I think our second round pick was Rondale Moore, who is a wide receiver, and he's a bit shorter. He's like 5'7", I think, which is really short, but he's super fast, and I think he would be a good slot option for us. So. And he had a pretty impressive pro day from what I can remember seeing. He ran like he's 5'9". Okay, I thought he was a bit shorter than that. He had a 42.5-inch vertical, though, which is really good for someone that short. He's a wide receiver for Purdue. His pro day was a couple days ago. Oh, look, they are saying that he measures in at 5'7". So I don't know. He's between 5'7" and 5'9", which regardless, it's pretty short.
It just seems like it's not normal to have under 6 foot for a football player.
It depends on the position too, but you're right, yeah.
And for him to be so high on the draft list, he must be really good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Yeah, he had a 42.5-inch vertical. I'm trying to find the 40 time that he ran. Yeah, this article is comparing him to Tyreek Hill. He's Tyreek Hill 2.0, him being a physical freak. He's not as big as Tyreek, which is weird to say because Tyreek Hill's not that large of a man in the first place. But Rondale Moore's even smaller. What was his 40 time? That's what I really care about. Rondale Moore 40 time. He ran a 4.29 40-yard dash, which is very like the combine record at least is a 4.22, so 0.07 of a second off of the combine record. It's pretty good. Then again, the dude who set that combine record, John Ross, is a trash football player, so But I mean, him breaking that record got him drafted in the first round too. So, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, 42.5-inch vertical. That's really good for a guy that's small. 4'2", 940. I think he'd be a very good slot option for the Titans to be able to take some of the heat off of AJ and newly acquired Josh Reynolds, because if you don't, he's gonna outspeed literally every single linebacker that he goes up against. And if they start going into any sort of nickel or dime formation with more defensive backs, I mean, Derrick Henry is just gonna absolutely tear up the field at that point. He does that regardless, but
speaking of Derrick Henry, have you been watching his off-season training videos?
His off-season stuff is, he does workouts that I literally did not realize were possible.
Like the one that came out the other day, he was doing push-ups
He was doing elevated push-ups. He had one like a 40-pound chain around his neck or something. And I don't know exactly how.
And his bar was one of those elastic bands.
Yeah, he set up like a resistance band on some sort of like
it looked like a deadlift.
It was some sort of deadlift or just squat. It was like a squat rack, and he just had that set up. And he put his feet were on a medicine ball, so he was at a slight downward incline, and he was just doing push-ups with this chain on. And it was like just slowly suspended in the air, and like, it just doesn't make sense. Like some of his workout regimen is legitimately like the most intense thing I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It was perfectly captioned, "This is why Derrick Henry can stiff arm someone into another dimension."
Yeah. It just like his balance, like do not try this at home either whenever you see it, or you can imagine what I'm saying, because he is a freak athlete. He's a freak athlete regardless, but just being able to do something like this is just, it's insane. And another stat that I saw about a week and a half ago, I think, Derrick Henry is the only person ever to have a 2,000-yard season in high school, college, and the NFL. Which is like, one, just anything that you can say, I'm the only person that has ever done this. Just regardless of what it is, it's usually a pretty awesome feeling. But like, he's literally been this good and this dominant for ever since he put on football pads.
It's just, it makes you feel good when you see that, and people are like, "Oh my God, Derrick Henry," and it's like, he plays for our team. Like,
yeah, because the Titans haven't had that guy in a long time.
No, and it's not like he's just there for the money. Like, he is dedicated to the Titans. Like, he puts in the work because he wants the Titans to win a Super Bowl. That's his goal. That's his one goal all season.
Yeah,
I think.
Like a couple weeks ago, he put out a video of him giving all the offensive linemen all gold chains that had 2K on them. So it's like, and he loves giving gifts to the offensive line. I've noticed for Christmas, I'm pretty sure he got them like an arcade machine for the locker room. He got like, I know he got them all some pretty nice gifts. I think he all got him like another chain last year when he was the rushing champion. He did it again this year, but he's the pro's pro, because he never talks, which is, I mean, that he has every right to. His athleticism, he lets his play do the work.
He lets his athleticism do the talking for him.
He never opens his mouth, which, I mean, like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think people who do that are necessarily just worse players because of it. But when you start going down that rabbit hole, when you actually do get burned one time, which is going to happen to everyone, then it just kind of like, you got to be able to take the heat if you want to stay in the kitchen. But he never talks to the media. Every time that they ask him any questions, he's just like, yeah, he only talks about this play on the field. If anything bad happened, like after the Texans game this past season, one of the only things he ever talked about, because he rushed for like 250 yards, he got the 2,000 yards in that game, but the only thing he ever talks about during that game is the fumble that he had late in the game. And that's because he was like, oh man, like no matter, he could have gone for like 300 yards that day, broken the single game record, broken Eric Dickerson's all-time record, but the only thing that he'd ever talk about with the game was just like, man, I shouldn't have fumbled that ball. And everyone who watched that play, no one blames him for that, because Zach Cunningham made a beautiful play. Like, he was engaged with the block. He comes around and just literally just swings his arm out, complete instinct, and just knocks the ball away. And Derrick never saw it coming. When I was watching it live, I was just like, oh, Derrick just fumbled. And I watched the replay. I was like, that's a good play. That's not Derrick's fault at all. Because he only fumbled like twice this year, and that was one of them. Which is another thing. He never fumbles like almost ever. So when he does, he beats himself up for it really hard about it.
That's because he literally puts the team on his back. He doesn't have to because the Titans have...
I mean...
He does.
Kinda.
But the Titans have a very much like team mentality. Mm-hmm. Like it's not one person, even though Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But it's the team effort. But if something goes wrong, Derrick's going to blame himself. Mm-hmm. And if something goes right, it's not him, it's the team.
He always says, oh, yeah, the offensive line blocked real well. He always starts off with that whenever someone talks about just any of his accomplishments of that day or just the season in general. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done it without the blocking. And if something goes bad, it's like, I got to be better.
And definitely. Like seeing his mentality versus like Isaiah Wilson on the same team, it's really hard to like put those two together and comprehend that they were even under the same coaching staff. Because the mentalities are so different.
Some of that stuff you can't coach, though. Some of it's just like it's an innate, like, just leadership responsibility that you just have, and you can take that for yourself.
That's very true. But still, just seeing the comparison between the two, like, it just sometimes is just crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just knowing that we have the best running back in the NFL on the team, it's pretty nice. Just like being able to say, like, as a Titans fan after all these years, like, we have like the best X. It doesn't matter. It could have been quarterback, wide receiver. Not even going to mention the defense, but it's like we have the best running back in the NFL, and that's not questionable.
Well, people also don't talk about it, but I saw a stat the other day that said Ryan Tannehill, either this past season or the season before,
since 2019, he's the best quarterback, PFF grade in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which, like, again, people will see PFF and just be like, oh, it's just a bunch of nerds going through the advanced stats. Which is just like, yeah, to an extent, that's true. But he is a really good quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he does exactly what he needs to do. And that's why he has such a high PFF grade. But no one's going to say, it's like, oh, yeah, Ryan Tannehill's the best quarterback in the league.
Well, no. But back to what I was saying, it's the team. Mm-hmm. He does what he needs to do. He's not showy. He's not a Tom Brady. He's not going to be a Tom Brady quarterback. He's not going to be that quarterback that everybody talks about. But he does what he needs to do, and he gets the job done. Mm-hmm. And he does it well. He's had some really big plays. Like last season he had a couple bombs to A.J. Brown.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. I'm calling it right now. 1,000%. I'll go top 5. A.J. Brown is going to be a top 5 wide receiver this year. I guarantee that. Write that down in your notepad so I don't forget. Now, if he gets injured, then that does not come back on me because that's not my fault. Injuries happen. So.
Yeah, but last season he played through a knee injury.
Yeah, he did. And he got another 1,000-yard season after missing like 5 games, which is incredible. And hopefully he does just as well this year because if we got Josh Reynolds now, and then if we draft someone like Rondale Moore, then we could have a legitimately good wide receiving core, which is, again, something that we haven't been able to say in a long time. But, I mean, again, Bud Dupree to Nico Autry, I like both the signings. So let's hope that they can help fix it. Again, if Bud Dupree, 9.5 sacks or more, I'm buying his jersey. I promise. Which I was thinking about that when Adoree Jackson got cut. The first ever few jerseys I bought back in the summer of like 2018, I believe. It was 4 Titans jerseys. It's Marcus Mariota, Derrick Henry, Adoree Jackson, and Corey Davis. And 3 of those 4 guys are not on the team anymore. And it's really sad. I
remember leading up to, when was Mariota? Was it 18 that he was drafted, or was it 17?
He got drafted in 16.
16? Mm-hmm. I remember leading up to that draft, we were all so excited about Marcus.
Yeah. And the Titans went 3-13, not because of him. His first game as a professional, he had a perfect QB rating, 158.3.
Yeah.
So it's which is kind of sad to say because he literally peaked on his first ever game because he never got back to that, unfortunately, mostly in part due to injury and then just the revolving door that we had of staffing. But
there's been a lot of commentary he just did not fit into the Titan mold. He wasn't able to fulfill that role.
We never really had a mold either up until Vrabel got here. And by that time he was already shot and he couldn't really perform that well.
Well, he also couldn't stay off the injury list. Mm-hmm. He kept getting hurt.
Yeah. Which is really unfortunate, but I'm glad that he's found a home in Las Vegas because he was a backup this past year. And he took a massive pay cut to stay with them, which, I mean, I'm happy for the guy because obviously he's happy doing it, but he took a $7 million pay cut to stay with the Raiders, which is...
He must see a future there, though.
I guess so.
I hope so. I loved him, and he did not just football, but for the city of Nashville, he did a lot of work, and I really like Marcus as a person.
Yeah, as much as everyone as much as a lot of people like to rag on him for his play as a football player, everybody in every single one of his teammates has always said, no matter who you talk to, it's just we love Marcus. Everyone loves Marcus.
Well, here's a question that I've been wondering about. So we have the cap space, and it's been
two Predators just collided with each other. It's kind of weird. They look fine though. So yeah. All right, nothing's happening in the game.
Okay. So we have the cap space, and it's been a huge thing this year because everybody took a cap hit. Mm-hmm. So you only have so much money you can spend on free agency. Mm-hmm. Do you have a certain amount of money that you can spend on the draft? How does that whole thing work?
The way the draft contracts work, I actually just heard about this the other day where I don't know what team it was, but they had to clear up X amount of money for draft capital, but it's just depending on how many draft picks you have, obviously how many contracts you have to sign, but I think the range for rookie contracts, at least for the cap hit for this year, how it works, it's about $7 to $8 million for rookie contracts. Because after the first round, it's just kind of it's pretty low. It's pretty low. You don't really have to worry about the cap hit for those. So those are minimum deals. But the higher you are drafted in the first round, the bigger your contract is. Joe Burrow got $16 million guaranteed to him last year. No, regardless of the injury that he had, just because he was the number 1 overall pick. Whereas Isaiah Wilson had his cap number was $2.5 million because he was later in the first round. But I think I saw somewhere where the Titans needed to have at least $6 or $7 million clear for all the rookie contracts they're going to take on. So it just depends on how many rookie contracts you're going to have, how many picks you have. But usually it's in the range of if you're not a top 10 draft choice, you're going to be looking in the range of $6 or $7 million, maybe even 8 or 9 for your entire draft class.
So if we had, how much cap space did we have this year? Was it 15?
There was last I think, just doing the math in my head, thinking about what all the signings that we've had, I think we're somewhere around 14 million. But I have no idea. There was some NFL Players Association statement that got put out a couple of days ago that was saying where they just released a statement out of nowhere saying it's this is all the cap numbers, and it's completely wrong. But they said the Titans had $28 million in cap space, which I saw that number. I was okay, I mean that's wrong, but I would love that.
That would be really nice.
But if anyone else saw that, is just know that it's complete BS and there's no truth to it because the NFLPA is not technically associated with the NFL in any way. They don't have any sort of inside sources with the NFL. The Players Association, obviously, they represent the players and they bargain every few years once the CBA, which is the collective bargaining agreement, is up to renegotiate. Just this last CBA, they negotiated, there's going to be a 7th playoff spot now for each conference. And this year, the news that came out earlier today, there's going to be a 17th regular season game. That was collectively agreed upon by the NFLPA and the NFL. And the NFLPA does all this stuff pretty sure they do like all the health care for NFL contracts and stuff. I don't know exactly what they do, but I do know that them coming out and saying that it's like, oh, these are the cap numbers for all the teams. Like, that was completely false. No one knows exactly what the cap number is unless you've been keeping up manually by yourself and doing the math yourself, which we don't know all the details of every single contract either. So it's not anywhere you see unless you have a source within the team that you're trying to figure out, then you're probably not going to know what the exact cap number is.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if the cap space included the rookie contract.
Yes,
or not.
It does.
Okay.
But usually it's I mean, your entire rookie class is usually just basically equivalent to a mid-level player. Like, it's basically going to be this about the same cap hit as Danico Autry's is for this year for us. Which, if you get a player like AJ Brown in the second round, that's great. That obviously, like, he's performing way above his rookie contract level, but with being drafted after the first round, you only get a 4-year guaranteed contract, whereas it's like if you're a first round pick, you get that 5th-year option. Like, we declined Jack Conklin's 5th-year option. Same with Corey Davis. We picked up Adoree Jackson's just to release him, and that's why we need to make sure we have a bit of money going into next year, because AJ Brown, his contract is up after next year, and we are definitely going to want to extend him. We're gonna give him money.
Deserves it.
Absolutely. Oh, Nashville's on the power play. I didn't notice that. All right. Well, let's hope they score.
See if the Preds power play is any better.
Yeah, over the past couple weeks, like, the power play has just been amazing. It's completely turned around from what it was at the beginning, where we could not score for anything on the power play. But apparently, like, our special teams, like, the Predators and the entire team has completely done a 180 over the past couple of weeks, which I don't know where it came from. Maybe, I mean, we had a lot of, like, older guys get injured, so maybe it's the young players on the team that are actually hungry because they haven't been fed yet, and they want to be able to prove to say, hey, I deserve to be on this roster. I deserve to be on a roster, and I deserve to get paid in the future. And they want to prove that they can play well, which obviously they have. So maybe, I guess that has just infected the whole team. It's just like, all right, like, all these older guys like Yossi and all the guys that got injured are being shown up by these young guns who've never proved anything in their lives. So maybe it's like they just saw that and was like, okay, we need to start. We didn't score on the power play. That's unfortunate. But if we keep playing like this, then we can beat most of the teams that we go up against, honestly. I mean, we started this out by beating Tampa Bay and Carolina, or the Panthers, and we've won 6 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 6, and we won 4 in a row. I'm not sure if it's 5 of 6 or 6 of 7, but either way, we're literally playing for a playoff spot right now with only a month left in the season, and this is the time, if any, to get hot and to do well.
It just annoys me that we have to wait till the very end of the season to see them actually, like, be like, oh crap, we got to play hockey.
I'd rather it be at the end of the season than the beginning, honestly, because I'd rather them be hot going into the playoffs than be hot at the very beginning of the season and then just kind of fizzle out.
I mean, that's true. I'm just really tired of this having to chase down a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's like, in a perfect world, you want them to play like this every single night, no matter what. And even if they lose, then they're playing competitive games. They're just like, oh, man, they just got, did they score? No, they didn't. Yeah. Get stuffed, Kane. But, yeah, you want them to play hard every single night, and just, that's right. Is Rene 38 or is he 28? Because I can't tell. The goaltending has been outstanding the past couple weeks, too. Yeah, Saros, ever since he came back from injury, has allowed a total of, like, 4 goals in 5 games, I think. I'll have to check that. But he played like 5 in a row. They actually had to call up the emergency goalie before this game because I'm pretty sure Saros just isn't active because he's started like 5 in a row. And going, like, having played that many games in a row and on a back-to-back night, there was no way he was going to start. But it's like when I saw the news of us calling up the emergency goalie, I was just like, is everything okay?
A little worried.
No, it's like Rene starting, and it's halfway through the second. We're still up 2-0, knock on wood. But hopefully we're not going to be needing that emergency goalie. And that Pekka plays probably again on Tuesday night, and Saros is rested, and then we just go back to the back and forth rotation of Pekka and UC. Oh, no. Okay. Pekka was out of net for he was on the ground for a little bit. And he was out of net. I was like, uh-oh, we cleared it. So
I think that's one of the things that's so frustrating about being a Tennessee sports fan. And it's getting better, don't get me wrong, but it's just the inconsistency of the teams. Mm-hmm. They'll be hot for a second and then be the worst in the league. And
unless it's collegiate sports, then they're never hot.
Okay, we're not talking about tennis balls right now. Okay?
I said collegiate sports. I did not name a specific
you
football team.
You implied it.
I didn't name a specific university. The only collegiate sport that Tennessee has that's good right now is Vanderbilt baseball, because they have the number one baseball player in the country right now. He's thrown 16 straight innings of no hits. They're number one in the country right now. Vanderbilt baseball, S tier. Every other collegiate sport program is just. The Lady Vols are pretty good. They're not bad. They got to the second round of the tournament. They lost though, but I'm just telling it how it is. No, how it is completely accurate to what I said.
I mean, yes, but still, the Preds and
no one cares about MTSU football either, or Vanderbilt football.
No, but I mean, we did get Kevin Byard out of it, so
yes,
hopefully we'll continue to have him, but he needs to step up his game a little bit.
It was one down year. He'll be fine this year, hopefully.
But yeah, I mean, just the Titans have gotten better over the past 3 seasons or so about being more consistent.
They don't lose to the teams they shouldn't lose to.
Yeah.
Except for that one game against the Bengals last year.
We don't talk about it. But yeah, I think that's, for me, just the most frustrating part about being a Tennessee sports fan is just the absolute inconsistency of the teams at times.
Yeah. Our buddy Matt, who we know through Harold, shout out Matt if you listen to this, but he always says that it's the Titans and the Predators can never be good simultaneously. And to an extent, that's pretty true. But I mean, usually, and for the most of the season so far, yeah, he was right. I mean, the Titans were pretty good this year. Then up until a couple weeks ago, the Predators were pretty bad. So hopefully that's starting to turn around. And hopefully I would love for him to be wrong, but I mean, it just seems that he just has been consistently right for the past few years. The Titans and the Predators specifically just can never really be great simultaneously. It's always one or the other. And that usually seems to ring pretty true. But I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things. It's just one of those sports, not curses, but it's just superstitions. There's you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Up until basically these past couple of years, no one cared about the Titans on a national level. I mean, even when they were in the AFC Championship with the Chiefs, to the point, it's just everyone's, the Chiefs are gonna win. And I mean, realistically speaking, yeah, I'm not surprised that they won, but even when we were in the AFC Championship, everyone only ever talked about the Chiefs, which I know is the hot thing because Patrick Mahomes is just basically the second coming of Christ in the NFL, but we never get the national attention, and that's fine because I kind of like not getting the attention, proving everybody wrong.
We're always the underdog. Mm-hmm. Even if you're going up against a team where the Titans have no chance of losing, we're always the underdog.
That's a good mentality to have because it's just a prove them wrong type of deal, which is good. But obviously, I would like some more recognition at some point because, obviously, hosting the draft was the biggest thing that's ever happened to Nashville. Legitimately bigger than CMA Fest because there were over 500,000 people here for one weekend.
Well, CMA Fest happens every year. Yeah. The NFL draft, I don't know the next time we'll see one of those here.
And they want to come back because they have the next few Johansson was trying to beat up the guy that ran into Pekka. Good for you, Joey. But yeah, I know that what Johansson got. That's I don't like that. We're on the penalty kill now because Johansson was teaching the dude who ran into Pekka a lesson. He got cross-checked him or something. That's stupid.
Worth it.
Yeah, as long as we don't get scored on, it'll be worth it. But as I was saying, yeah, I know like they said, the NFL said it's like, yeah, like the draft was so successful in Nashville that they want to come back, but obviously they have like the next few years planned out. Just that's how they had to have everything planned out for the next few years where the Super Bowl is going to be. And I would love to have a Super Bowl here.
Our stadium's not
but Nissan Stadium sucks.
It's so bad.
It's one of the worst in the league, unfortunately. But it holds a lot of people, but they'd have to completely gut it and renovate it, or just build a new stadium. But if it meant bringing a Super Bowl to Nashville, then I'd be all for it personally. A new stadium would open up many opportunities, but that's a multi-year project that I have no idea if it's ever going to happen. All right, well, that is going to be a wrap for the podcast this week. Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Go ahead and share the podcast. If you haven't already been doing it, share it with everybody you know. We're trying to grow. Love to hear any feedback y'all have. Most of the people listening to this have a direct line of contact to me at this point. So just send me a message, anything. Send Rachel a message if you have her added on, whatever. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where we post everything. But yeah, everyone have a good day. Hope y'all enjoyed, and be back next week for the next episode of the official RookieMode podcast.
Peace.
Peace.